Are you looking to jumpstart your income here on YouTube in the next 6 months? Well, today we're going to be talking with Hayley Paige. Hayley Paige is an influencer on YouTube. She talks about her experience as a mom, parenting advice, and better than that, she's got another channel where she's uploaded some tips about how to crush it here on YouTube. So today she's going to be going through her 4-step framework about how to crush it on YouTube here on the VI show coming up right now.
This video is brought to you by vidIQ, the #1 Chrome extension for YouTubers looking for on-point data analysis, research resources, and enhanced video creator tools. Start getting more views in less time today by signing up for free at vidiq.com/influence. That's vidiq.com/influence.
That's right. My name is Benji Travis. Welcome to Video Influencers. We're helping build your influence, income, and impact with online video. Sean Cano and I, we started this channel to help you crush it here on this platform. And we're the co-authors of YouTube Secrets. So make sure you pick it up at tubesecretsbook.com or go to Amazon Audible. We've got it on audiobook. So I am so excited to talk to our guest who's going to be helping you guys jumpstart your income in the next 6 months. So without further ado, Hayley, what is going on?
Hello, totally jumped the gun there, but I'm doing good.
It's all good. I could tell people were loving what you were talking about, and obviously we're going to get into your 4-step framework. But first off, tell me, Hayley, how you got your start, and more specifically, when you were first getting going with videos, how did you monetize? Because of course, this interview specifically is serving those people who are just getting started that really need to jumpstart their income to make money so they can make this into a full-time thing. What was your first experience like, and what were some of the first strategies that you pursued when starting your YouTube channel?
Yeah, so those are really good questions. So I've been a YouTuber since I think 2015. So it's been like 5 years. And I honestly had no idea what I was doing. Like many people, just watching YouTube, you kind of assume, it's the hashtag ads and the sponsorship. So that's really what I doubled down on. But something that I needed to make happen for myself at the time 5 years ago is I was desperate to not go back to my 8-to-5 job because I had a new baby. I really wanted to be a stay-at-home mom with my new firstborn baby. So I had to make money fast. I didn't want to wait for the silver play button or to hit a certain milestone and just wait for brands to come to me. So I was actually able to replace my full-time income from my job within 8 months on YouTube with a relatively small subscriber count. I can't remember, but I want to say that it was around under 10,000 subscribers. And I was probably getting 1,000 to 2,000 views per video-ish. It's been a long time, but it was definitely nothing compared to obviously where I'm at now. And so how I did that is I really focused on, really leveraging the expertise that I have. A lot of creators assume, like I said earlier, that, you need to wait for the silver play button or whatever, some milestone to make money. But really, you have so much potential and so I guess the potential to make money right now in your hands. I truly feel like everybody that is a YouTube creator, you are a little mini videographer. Some of us are photographers, we're posting high quality images on Instagram and, potentially your blog. You have a lot of things to offer brands, and it's not just about sponsorship. So what I did within the first 6 or 8 months on YouTube is I would work with smaller brands. I would target them on Etsy. Etsy was really big at the time. Instagram, not so much. And also Instagram was budding. So Instagram. And I would basically just cold pitch. I would pitch, my goal was 5 brands a day, small brands. And I would tell them that I was interested in working with them to do a sponsorship deal. But more importantly, I really understood that they weren't going to pay me a lot because I was super small creator. So I knew what I could leverage. And that was the fact that I had a high quality camera, I had potential props. So I let them know that I could do the sponsorship deal, but I would also create assets for them to use for their brand. So what I would do, for instance, is I would work with a company that, created these little hanging designs. And I would create a series of, small clips that they can put on Instagram. They can use those for advertising for their website. And then I'd also naturally integrate it onto my channel. So brands would basically pay me like triple the amount that I would normally get paid for a sponsorship deal with like 2,000 views. And I was able to replace, I think at the time it was around $54,000 a year is what I was making within the first year of being on YouTube. Wow. Because I was pitching. Yeah, it was crazy. I was pitching aggressively because I had to make it happen. Didn't want to go back to work. But I leveraged like what I had. And I know a lot of people might see that and think, well, I'm not a videographer. I'm not a photographer. I am neither of those things either. But what people don't realize is that brands pay so much, and I'm sure you know, Benji, for props, for video editing, for a legit videographer. And I would charge like $1,000 to $2,000 for like a set of assets is what they're called. But if I would book enough of those, just a couple, I could replace my income every month. So that's what I teach my students.
Yeah. And I think people forget that all the time, that what they're doing for free for themselves is actually a very valuable skill for others. And so one of the number one questions I get asked is, how much should I charge a brand or a company for a sponsorship? And of course, you would think that if you have 0 subscribers, 0 views, that you would assume that maybe I can't really charge very much. The baseline, in my opinion, for anybody that's creating quality content is whatever it would cost them to create that content on themselves. And remember, distribute it on a platform or pay for advertising. If you don't know what that costs, that can be anywhere from the low, like maybe like 500 to 1,000 to literally a few $1,000s. So even just starting out, and say maybe you've had videography experience, you've started a few channels just as a hobby. When you start your new channel and you've nailed down what you want to create, who you're going to be targeting, remember, you already have a skill that's so valuable, so you could easily charge anywhere from those $500,000 just from starting. And Hayley, I love that story about you hustling in your first year, because most people assume, and we've even said this, in your first year, you should almost not even think about brand sponsorships. However, I do believe in this digital age, content is so important that brands and companies, they need influencers who can create this content, because ultimately you're actually creating it for less than they could create on their own. Would that be correct?
Yeah. No, totally. I mean, I have students that have, I'm not even joking, like 2,000 subs. Someone yesterday just landed like $1,000, we call them brand deals, but she's also giving them the rights to all the assets she created. Yeah. So like small videos for Insta stories or, photos, things like that for Instagram or YouTube. And yeah, like the possibilities are absolutely endless. Content creation is really king in 2020. Yeah. So totally.
For sure. And so obviously you just heard it from Hayley. She did it in her first year, but today we're specifically focused on the first 6 months. But before you even reach out to a brand, there's a 4-step framework, Hayley, that you talk about to your viewers. You have a webinar on all this. So let's break it down. What are those 4 steps? And let's break down each one so that people understand why this is so important to jumpstarting your income to actually make money in the next 6 months on your channel.
Okay, yeah, for sure. Now, I know I already kind of went over the focus one because focus is first, but
go ahead and go over the focus again. So let's talk about that. Sure. Because obviously focus might seem kind of simple and people might like brush over it, but the focus you're talking about, I think, is so important to dig into a little bit more.
Yeah, honestly, I truly feel like it's way more important to say no to like 99% of everything you're doing right now if you're not growing on any one platform. So really choosing just like one platform. And for the sake of this, obviously, the platform we all know is the best is YouTube because it grows while you sleep. You can make passive income by uploading one video. I'm still getting paid from videos I uploaded 5 years ago every single month, and I don't even have to do anything. So the passive income experience is just so worthwhile on YouTube. But as far as focus, really doubling down on YouTube until you have a solid subscriber base, and then they're just going to follow you everywhere else. So you don't need to worry about studying several different algorithms. I think a lot of people assume that you just got to post all the time on all of them, but it truly isn't that. In order to grow on any, platform, you have to be a master of the algorithm. And it's hard enough to learn one, let alone 3. So really understanding, searchable content and the YouTube algorithm can take you so much farther than trying to do that on, all the other ones.
For sure. So obviously, first one is focusing and doubling down. Keep in mind, obviously, all of you watching know that YouTube is important, but when you're first starting out, it's good to start social media channels on these other platforms. Yeah. But in terms of your 90% of your work, it should be creating content and making sure that content reaches as many people, because once you build an influence here, it's much easier to migrate them to other platforms. Do call to actions like us, like follow us on video influencers. If you're not, you probably will follow if you want that quick hit or you want to be reminded of content. So I completely agree. So what would be the second part of your framework?
Yeah. So, and also with that, you obviously want to get your name on all the platforms. So like, my name is Hayley Johnson. You want to get the Twitter and get the Instagram and, post what you can. But what I tell my students is if you don't have your videos up and scheduled, then don't even look at the other platforms. That should be your number one priority. But anyways, the second framework is growth. So that's probably why a lot of you guys are here, because again, like I said, you assume that growth is the key to everything and the key to success and wealth on social media. And it definitely is. But something that you should realize is that you need to know who you're making content for and what they want to watch even before you try and, just post consistently. Because consistency is obviously super necessary, but you can't just also assume that your channel is going to grow by posting consistently. And I feel like most of us know that by now. You have to actually make searchable content. So what I teach my students, and especially the ones that grow super rapidly within 6 months to a year, I'm talking about replacing their income within that time from their 8-to-5 job, is they really don't talk about a ton of personal matter in their first 6 months on YouTube. Not because they don't want to, but because it doesn't appeal to random people that don't know them. So this is something that I feel is a huge, I wouldn't say issue, but it's definitely a mistake that I made. When I first joined, the YouTube platform, I would post about everything. I was consistent, I was dedicated, but then I realized that it wasn't really growing me fast. And what I had to do instead is appeal to new eyes. So people that don't know who I am. So obviously how you do that, and this is what you guys teach as well, is create searchable content. So content that, you validated the demand for. There is a high demand for this type of, keyword or content piece, and a low supply. That's the ideal gold spot that you want to hit. So you make these videos, but when you're creating them, you don't necessarily want to do, day in the lives or things that aren't going to grow your channel rapidly, just because people don't really know who you are yet. So you have to appeal to, new eyes by, really focusing on only searchable content. And I know a lot of people think, well, I want a daily vlog or I want to share personal things about my life. And trust me, I do that on my channel. But I think you really have to understand where your money-making priorities are on your list of priorities. If your number one priority is to make an income for your family, then you have to grow rapidly. And the way that you grow as fast as you can is by creating searchable content. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah, totally. In fact, I want to share people my whole process on figuring out what's searchable content. So if you guys know me from my other channel, Benjamin TV, I talk about food, right? I share my recipes. I show you how to cook. And so let's go ahead and share my screen here. One thing I like to do is literally search the term I want to rank for. So my specific niche is recipes and showing people how to cook delicious food. Barbecue chicken thighs. Okay. So just so much more flavor on the thighs and the skin on there.
Yeah.
And what I do is I use vidIQ over here and it'll tell me, and literally I saw this, it says the volume's pretty good, competition's kind of medium. And so again, this is a vidIQ tool. Shout out to our sponsor. You guys can actually go to the link down below. Or what I do is I go up here to the little vidIQ icon. I go to SEO and tags. And this tool also will help you get the information you need. So keyword, I'm going to type in barbecue chicken thighs. And again, why this is so important is because you can see the search volume of these search terms and what other people are actually searching. I think that's the number one problem. And you mentioned this in terms of growth is don't assume your channel will grow or people will care, or don't assume what it is that people are watching. Like, do the research. And I know that on your webinar, you actually talk about this. It's as simple as literally doing a YouTube search like I did. You don't even have to have the vidIQ. Literally see what ranks, right? Because what you might find is you might type in a search term, but other types of videos show up, different titles show up. It might be like a nuanced rendition or version of what you are thinking people want to watch or that you want to create. So it's kind of the balance between your passion and what you want to create, as well as what it is people are actually watching. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, totally. And let me just say that, your passion is so important. Obviously, you're going to burn out and you're going to quit if you're not talking about things that are your passion. And oftentimes, I'm not going to lie, I like to be very, honest. You have to, again, look at your list of priorities, and maybe you have to delay the ultimate dream life, types of videos that you want to post on YouTube in order to, let's say, obviously your income is number one priority for a lot of us in order to make money on the platform. So a lot of times, for instance, people will come to work with me and they just want to post personal videos, like I said, or vlogs. That's like a big one. And there's nothing wrong with that. But if I could go back in time and if I could tell myself something, to do instead, I would have told myself to hold off until I was making the money that I actually needed to make for my family in order to post those personal pieces of content. Because you can post literally whatever you want once you have a subscriber base and once you're making money, because you have that, base of people that are willing to follow you wherever you want to go. So you just have to put in that time, focus on the algorithm and understanding, how you can have your videos grow your channel while you sleep. Do that first so that one day you can truly talk about whatever and really follow like the passion. Your passion should always be there and even searchable content. But really putting in the time to study the algorithm is so important, especially the first 6 months to 1 year.
Yeah, for sure. And I love that you brought up the whole vlogs. My wife and I, we vlog almost every single day. But what a lot of people know, not just about us, but a lot of other vloggers, they had a niche channel before. They had that growth. Yes. They built their influence, and then they showed the behind the scenes content or the day in the life. They didn't start off that way. In fact, it's very rare that I would meet somebody like that. But any one of those people that did start off with a vlog from day one, it's like an uphill battle for the whole way through, because there's no real niche. Now, I do believe there are modern day vloggers, there are niche vloggers, but still, when you're talking about how-tos, information, education, specific niche interest types of content, not only will those be less competitive, but it's going to help you grow because they'll become evergreen videos. So do you want to get into tip number 3, which is shift, or is there anything else you want to leave us with when it comes to growth?
Yeah, I guess just the last thing that I have to say with growth, I could talk about this forever, and I know you could too. But the last thing that I really want people to understand is that a lot of new creators, myself included, I made this mistake as well. They will look at what the creators that they aspire to be like, and they will, essentially mimic or try and copy that content. But you really have to ask yourself, is this type of content, is the content that this really big YouTuber is putting out right now, is this how they got their start? Or is this just what's being watched because they have a huge subscriber base? So it's really hard to sometimes decode where people, kind of blew up. You can obviously sort by views and see their highest performing videos. And that's oftentimes much better than just trying to copy the content they're putting out in the present. Because like you said, if they're putting out vlogs and you start with vlogs and then you start to realize, wait a second, they have all of these little hidden searchable content, either vlogs or searchable content videos, and that's how they grew, then you're going to really shift your mindset and thinking searchable content is where it's at. I shouldn't be mimicking their vlogs.
For sure.
But anyways.
I love it. And, I love talking about it. That's the whole point of this show. If you guys are getting value out of this, hit that like button. And remember, leave your questions below because we're going to get into Q&A. But first, we've got into the first step, which is focus, right? We want to make sure that you know who it is that, you want to double down on the platform, obviously, right? And so YouTube needs to be where you put all of your efforts. Second is growth. Make sure you don't assume your channel will grow. Know who you're making your content for and what that content will be. And of course, base it around searchable content. So tip number 3, or this third step, is shift. Tell us about what you mean by this, because I do believe this might be the most important in terms of leading us to monetization in the next 6 months.
Yeah, totally. So this one is huge. Shifting your mindset is basically what I'm talking about. Mindset is such a, I don't know, it's such a catchy phrase nowadays. People talk about manifestation and all of these different ways to meditate. It's like a hot thing to do right now. But honestly, like the mind is so powerful in starting a business. And I think a lot of people see YouTube as a hobby. Like they don't treat it as a business because of so many different reasons. And this was my own experience. At first, I thought I treated it like a hobby. So I did it whenever I wanted, didn't put a lot of pressure on myself. And that's honestly because I had a lot of fear around failure. And this is why, anybody kind of delays starting a business or doing something different. They kind of just, are in that human, like just rat race, kind of doing the same thing over and over because they're scared of failing. But honestly, what I teach people is to shift your mindset around your YouTube channel and take it from hobby to career. And career doesn't mean you have to work 8 to 5. In fact, I, no joke, probably work only an hour a day. I have kids at home and I don't need to work anymore to bring in an income for my entire family. So it's amazing. But obviously at first you do have to treat it like, how am I going to make money for myself or my future or my family? So really understanding that this is a business, you have to treat it as such. And I think also people, treat it as a hobby because it's almost a luxury that you can. You don't have to invest that much money into YouTube. So there's not a lot of pressure on you and all of that. So some tips that I have for you guys is that if you want to treat it like a business and actually make money from it within 6 months, because I don't know if it's because I'm a millennial or because I don't know, I'm just very impatient. I want things to happen for myself and other people like fast. So I really tell people that they shouldn't make videos that take all day to film if they are time starved. A lot of people that follow me, they're moms, they're parents, they don't have a lot of time and they feel like it's impossible because they can barely, I don't know, take a shower at the end of the day or find time to do anything for themselves. But the key here is to, really analyze your content strategy. If you're choosing, because it is a choice, to make videos that take 6 hours to film, then ask yourself seriously, is this really going to burn me out? Is this a sustainable type of business? Did you choose the right niche that you can do an hour a day or however long you want to work on it? So you have to think about your long-term, I guess, as scary as it sounds, your long-term YouTube or business goals, and ask yourself if this is something that you can sustain for years down the line. The other thing that you already kind of mentioned, Benji, is batching your work. Yeah. So what I used to do years ago when I really got, to making that income and replacing it really rapidly is I would batch. So I had a 1-year-old baby. You can't do anything with any kind of child, in my opinion. It's very hard. So you have to do things when they're sleeping. So instead of, filming half of a video or a video on Monday, and I know you teach this a lot, I think it's like the key to success. I truly do. But instead of filming a video on Monday, editing half of it on Tuesday, editing the other half, uploading and optimizing, it takes like 6 or 7 days to get out one video. You basically batch it. So you film 2 videos for next week on Monday. I would do it during my baby's nap as one. And then I was obviously really trying to make it fast. So I would do another one after she went to sleep at night with 3 soft boxes, which are the ones I still have. So that's all on Monday. I'd film everything, take the thumbnail image. And then on Tuesday, I'd edit everything. Wednesday, I would, do the tags and upload it, uploading it. And then obviously I would schedule them and prep all of like the Instagram posts and all that the next day. So I didn't even have to worry about it. It was like scheduled for the next week. And that's just kind of like a little snapshot of how batching works. If you don't do that, I promise you, I still sometimes don't do that. And I'm like, why am I doing it this way? It takes you 10 times longer.
Yeah, I love this. And, it reminds me of what I always tell my kids, because I'm trying to teach them how to, take care of themselves, be responsible, also make money or, make a living. And the number one question I ask is, how do you make money? They say, work hard. And I say, what else do you have to do? They say, work smart. But I said, but you always have to remember, and they say, to work hard. So the reason that's so important is because I do agree with you, Hayley, that everybody, and if you say no, you're lying, would like to make more money in the next 6 months, right? Or make it a little bit more quickly. So working smart, and that's why you're watching this. You want to get the takeaways and the tips from Hayley that helped her make more money more quickly. However, in the midst of working smart, just remember, There's literally thousands of other people doing this, applying these techniques and these principles that are also working really hard. You can't get around that, but it's like a sprint versus a marathon. So most people that work a 9 to 5, right, and work for 40, 50 years to make an earning, to get retired, that's like the marathon. The kind of hustle we're talking about is a sprint. So it's like a sprint for 6 months. And the way YouTube works is you probably will put in overtime, so more than 40 hours, but you're going to do it for 6 months, and you're going to set up some evergreen, monetization strategies that's going to bring in income as you sleep. That's the beauty of YouTube, right? Views while you snooze. So it's a collection of sprints. Now, you can't just do that for 6 months and be retired for 60 years. You're going to have to do that constantly. But I heard this on a podcast where the guy said it's a marathon of sprints. So look at it that way. Ultimately, you want to work smart, but you're going to have to work hard. There's no getting around it. But I love what you said here for the tip of shifting is take it from a hobby to a career. You really have to take this seriously, because if you think other people are just doing this as a hobby and become a millionaire, I mean, you're off your rocker, because honestly, I know a ton of people who are very smart, Hayley included, that are working very hard, maybe not forever, but enough to get the foundation built to create those income strategies, which actually leads us to the 4th step. But what are your last thoughts in terms of shift?
Yeah, sure. So I totally agree. And honestly, I never really thought about it as a sprint. It's just something that I learned through experience. But once I realized, like, wow, I literally sacrificed so much for 6 months. I mean, if I didn't have my videos up, and scheduled, I didn't hang out with friends. I didn't go to brunches. I didn't buy anything fancy. I put it into equipment. I was eating very minimally I didn't go out to eat and all that kind of stuff. So a lot of sacrifice with my husband helping me for 6 months. But I obviously wouldn't trade that for anything, saying no to like I said, 90% of everything, because then, it sounds so glamorous, but now I'm able to work an hour a day and make the income that I am. Because I did do a series of sprints. And once I realized the power of just laser focus, which is obviously the first framework step, and working really hard for a shorter period of time, you can apply that to everything. So once I realized that, we did that with our second business where we sell products on Amazon to my subscribers that now makes us passive income. We worked really hard for 6 months, and now we can make passive income. Then we did that for other businesses, creating our course, obviously. And we really just saw the value of these short sprints that will pay us, indefinitely, I guess, passively. So yeah, totally.
There you go. And now we're to the 4th step, which kind of brings all this together, but it's monetization. Now, most people, when they think of monetization, and we already talked about it a little bit with your experience, is brand sponsorships or AdSense. Now, we're trying to make you money in the next 6 months. So what's more realistic than that? And don't get me wrong, you can get sponsored in the next 6 months if you got high quality content, you know how to produce valuable videos for brands. But tell us about the monetization techniques that's going to help people monetize sooner than later.
Yeah, totally. So like I always tell pretty much everybody, because I've learned through my experience, that's the biggest thing, is ads and sponsors are totally fine. I still do, sponsored brand deals. Benji does them, I think, obviously with Judy. And it is quick cash. I'm not going to lie. I'm very transparent. I do income reports. I tell people everything because I want them to really understand where they should put their focus. Because it's kind of this magical land, and you just see people doing a hashtag ad for a 30-second spiel in the middle of their video. And you're like, well, that is so easy. And it is. It's so easy most of the time. But obviously, you know what I'm going to say, it requires a really large audience. And like I said, it's not something that I tell people to go and get, because it is a long-term game. So I truly see, Google AdSense and getting that green check mark or whatever on YouTube that you're monetized, and also doing sponsorships is the cherry on top. It shouldn't be the bread and butter of your business. And for full transparency, for I think 2018 and most of 2019, I made the majority of the income for my family through sponsorships and affiliates, and also our Amazon business. But mostly because I was a YouTuber. And at a certain point, I got pretty burnt out because, I started to realize that it's not necessarily something that I can personally sustain, because I am a mom of almost 3 now. And you do have to rely on having a massive audience and putting up content consistently. So there's so many other ways to make money a lot faster. So that's why I obviously started creating digital products and replaced my income with another sprint for 6 months, which was at the end of last year. And it's been like such a wild ride. And it's amazing all the different ways you can make money on YouTube. So as far as like what you guys can do, if you're a brand new creator, probably like with 5,000 views and under, try and prioritize making income first. Don't even worry necessarily about, you got to obviously track your growth. You got to understand the algorithm. You have to grow. But the first thing you should ask yourself when you start working on your business every day is, how am I going to monetize this? Because if you're choosing a path, and if you're choosing like a certain niche that is going to take you 2 or 3 years to monetize through potentially sponsorships, then you have to be aware of that instead of feeling disappointed and maybe burning out and quitting. So there's so many other ways. A few ways that I'm sure you guys have talked about on your channel are affiliate marketing, ebooks or courses, which I've done all of these, downloadables, services, and physical products. So I've pretty much done actually all of them. And just to give you guys kind of like a little insight into what this actually means, because right now it's just like, wow, that's nice, but how can I do this for myself? I'm working with a student right now. I think she has around 780 or something subscribers. And last month she made $10,000 through her services and through her online courses. This is her first month launching. So she did a lot of like DMing and selling directly. But that's incredible. That took me so much longer to make that money, because I was just looking at my sub count. Does that make sense, Benji?
Well, absolutely. And I love what you mentioned in terms of your viewers or your students actually applying what you're talking about. And in fact, I want to actually show you guys 2 examples here. So obviously, bring it back to me. Sean and I, it took us 4 years to write this thing, right? Because we want to write what we call a perennial seller, something that will continue to sell. And so it's been almost 2 years. Next month, Sean, I don't know if you're watching, it'll be about 2 years since we launched this book. But go to Amazon here and you can see even the ratings. So if you want to leave us a rating, please go and do that. But we got 598 ratings. This book literally sells anywhere from like 2,000 to 3,000 copies a month passively, right? And so obviously you can do the math. We got it on paperback. By the way, I'm not doing this to promote our book. I'm just showing you the potential of a product, right? And this is also a digital product because you can also get it on audiobook. And look, you can get it for free, it looks like. But before that, Sean had an ebook, right? YouTube for Churches. Obviously, it's not as popular just because it's very niche, but he wrote this like literally when I first met him in terms of starting YouTube. And so don't discount even like an ebook. And so we're going to talk about a few more of those things, but these digital products are so important because more so now than ever. Right now is a crazy time and people are hurting. People have gotten laid off or furloughed. People's businesses have been shut down or there's a major slowdown. I think everybody can relate to this. Even me with brand deals, like for 1 month, everything got halted. So having these passive forms of income are so important. And it does take like 6 months of super focused effort on top of building your influence, right? So this is why you need to say no to everything. That's not helping you do that. Because if you don't, instead of 6 months, it'll take you 6 years. And the direction the world's going, I was even thinking last night, Hayley, I don't like to get political, but literally I stayed up last night thinking, we're about to have this election and I'm not feeling too good about either one of the candidates right now, which is a big deal, right? It's a crazy time. And we know during elections, things can get rocky and the economy can tank if a certain person gets voted in. That's just one example on top of all the other things in 2020. Does that make sense? Is that like what you're talking about in terms of digital products? And again, like having that passive monetization?
Yeah, no, totally. And obviously I'm super worried about what's going to happen at the end of this year, but I'm not even thinking about it because it's like that will get you down a whole nother mental game, and that's kind of scary. But a good way to think about it, and when I was actually told this from a mentor, it changed my life like forever. I went from making, I think, 5K a month to like 20 and up, 30, sometimes one time when I did a launch, 60K a month. So the possibilities are absolutely endless, but the way you have to think about making money online is what kind of lifestyle do you want to live for, just like every day? Do you want to work for every cent that you make? And this is like the huge shift. So when I was doing, an 8 to 5 job, or even when I was doing brand deals and posting consistently on YouTube, which you still need to do with digital products, like most of the time, unless you're doing ads. But with those types of lifestyles, you have to basically work for every cent you make. So you have to put up the videos consistently. You have to be pitching or hire a manager or whatever else it is. And that's all amazing. It's still a way, I guess, you get more freedom with that lifestyle than having to listen to a boss, but you still essentially sort of have a boss because you have to answer to social media and all these things. So with all of these other ways to monetize, the ways that you can do it within 6 months, the girl that I just talked about making 10K a month, the mindset that you should have is you don't have to constantly work to make money. And that's obviously what passive income is. So that's all the types of revenue streams that I want for myself. I want to wake up like you do with your book and wake up to just making like thousands of dollars in my bank account, which is what I currently do now. We actually do have a product on Amazon. It's like a 5-in-1 nursing cover and a couple others. Yeah. So I totally understand the Amazon game getting all those reviews. But it's just like amazing. And Amazon is just one little way you can do affiliates. And like I said, even if you sell a $30 ebook, if you have like 100 people watching like a video and you realize that your conversion rate for 100 people is like 2%, I mean, you can do the math, and that is way more motivating, selling that little tiny ebook than just watching, oh, am I approved to be monetized? Does that make sense?
Oh, totally. And so, wrapping all this up, and I would love to get your final takeaways before we get into Q&A. It starts with obviously focus, doubling down on this platform and saying no to everything else, not getting distracted. Secondly, focus on the growth within YouTube, right? YouTube is a utility. People are searching for things. Make sure your content is evergreen, is searchable, because it's going to always get those views. Third is shift your mindset, like not just double down on the platform, but double down on your business. Don't treat it like a hobby, more so than ever, especially if you lost your job or your business got shut down. Like, you got to have this in the background. It doesn't have to be like a 7-figure business. Even if it's just going to help you cover your bills. I think that it's important for everybody, including a brick and mortar business. Like, figure out how you can have this evergreen content. And then fourth is monetize with a digital product, with a book, with something downloadable, services, physical products, and all that put together. Remember, if you have a channel that's focused on a specific audience and that content is going to serve them, create a piece of digital downloadable product or something that you can align with that content to serve those people. You see how this all kind of comes full circle? And if you do this over and over and over, you get that. I used to watch that book, the movie, The Secret, right? It's kind of cheesy when I think about it now, but there was this one scene where the guy's like, I just get checks in the mail. And I remember watching, I was like, I want to be that guy. And then after a few years, because I wasn't putting in the hustle, it's like, that's not real. I kind of like discounted it. Now I'm like, actually, that was for reals, except it's not in a mailbox. It's in my email, right? So it's possible, but it takes a lot of hard work. So what would be your final takeaways for the audience to bring this home that you want to leave them with before we get into Q&A? And by the way, if you're watching the replay of this, Q&A is exclusive for the live or members only. So make sure you join the VI members club. You can hit the join button down below. But Hayley, what would be your final takeaways?
Yeah, I guess the one thing that I would tell anybody is to really understand what you have to leverage. So everybody has different skill sets. And the easy one to just assume is like, well, we're all creators, right? We're decent at social media. And honestly, a lot of people that are just starting think they're terrible at everything, but you're not. Everyone has something to leverage. So you have to ask yourself, where in the lineup does making money really, what is that the number one priority? If that is, then you have to understand what you have to offer people. So if that means you are decent at taking images for Instagram, well, then maybe you should go and try and focus on that monetization stream. So, creating assets for brands, doing smaller brand deals, creating pieces of content for other brands to repurpose, then that would be something that you could leverage. Or if you are, let's say, I worked with someone, a certified sleep consultant for babies, maybe that's her leverage. So she can understand that, if she created a smaller or even a larger digital product, that she could make money super rapidly. So everybody has special skills. And the more that you can use those to your advantage right away from day one, the faster you're going to make money.
Absolutely. So before we end this, I want to say question of the day. What monetization technique are you most interested in learning about? We want to know, and maybe we'll have Hayley back on here. But I love what you said. Hey, you guys, if you want to check out Hayley's content, just go down below in the show notes. We have a link not only to her channel, also her Instagram, Hayley Paige Johnson. Go check it out. And also, we've got the webinar where she talks about this. She goes a little bit more into depth. I watched it last night. Definitely worth the hour-long watch. A lot of good takeaways. But if you guys want to see the full playlist of content to help you guys make money on YouTube, click or tap the screen right here. If you want to see our other interviews here on the VI Show, click or tap the screen right here. As always, we're helping you build your influence, income, impact with online videos. I'll see you later.